If you were to ask a bunch of 3D printing enthusiasts what CAD software they use to design functional parts, you're going to get a ton of different answers. The YouTubers in the bunch may tell you that Fusion is the only professional choice. The open source enthusiasts are going to push you to FreeCAD. The artists will say just model everything in Blender. But which one actually should you use? Well, I decided to do an empirical test. I modeled the exact same functional part, a bed scraper, in 10 different applications. Some of them took me 5 minutes, some of them took me an hour. One of them I had to use AI to even get it to work, and one was a complete disaster. And I wouldn't recommend that application to my own worst enemy. Let's dive in. First up on the list is Tinkercad. Now, if you have never done 3D modeling before, Tinkercad just feels like magic. Without any tutorials whatsoever, I was able to design the scraper in about 20 minutes, which is fantastic. That said, it doesn't have true parametric modeling features. There was no sketch constraint engine. There was no history tree. Really, the precision work, it was just a bit clunky where I couldn't get two pieces to line up just right, and I had to delete it and start over. That said, for a complete beginner trying to get into modeling and designing their own parts for 3D printing, this is an absolute amazing tool that blew me away. So for this reason, I'm putting Tinkercad in B tier. Next up on the list is Shaper 3D. Now, before making this video, I had not touched Shaper 3D, but I feel like Shaper 3D could best be described as Tinkercad on steroids. It took me about 15 minutes to be able to model the scraper, again, with no tutorials. And I have to say, the fact that you can do direct modeling was a breath of fresh air because that's not something I've become accustomed to in the other applications I've used. Shaper 3D is a great parametric modeling software with history. And if you're looking to upgrade from Tinkercad, Shaper 3D is an obvious choice. Shaper 3D is very easy to learn, especially if you use other parametric modeling tools. And I was able to model the part in 20 minutes. Now, it has a pricing model of $299 a year, which may seem like a steep price, but really, if you're designing parts for a business, that price is nothing. Given that Shaper 3D has direct modeling, it has parametric modeling, it has history available to it, and it has all of that for just $299, ShaperCAD, for me, gets S tier. Next up on the list is Onshape, and full disclosure, this is my daily driver. So I was able to design this scraper with its holder in 4 minutes in Onshape. It's not a very complex part. I specifically chose this part because it had a chamfer, it had some specific design restrictions, it had the need to be able to fit two parts inside each other, and a couple of bolt holes. So again, Boolean operation, maybe if you have to, but other than that, it's a pretty basic part that you should be able to model in any 3D design software. Now, Onshape is really nice because it is browser based, which means you can use it just about anywhere, although it doesn't really perform well on a mobile browser. And if you're using the free tier, your models are publicly available to everyone, so you don't really have that protection over your designs. But given that this is a fully integrated CAD application that you can use for free, for me, Onshape gets A tier. Next up on the list is Autodesk Fusion. Yes, Autodesk has dropped the 360 from Fusion 360. It took me 22 minutes to model the scraper and the holder in Fusion. Now, most of that was because I was fumbling through the menus and I wasn't used to the controls. So if you're switching from another application to Fusion, you can, in the preferences, change the controls to mirror or match whatever application that you were using. So that's a nice feature. Autodesk Fusion is about $700 a year, a little bit less than that, but it's about $700 a year. It's more than double the price of Shaper 3D. Now, it is a fully functional parametric modeling system, and it does have a hobby version, but that's not for commercial use. So if you're looking to just try it out and get a taste for it to see if you like it, use the hobby version and just give it a test. But because it is fully functional with all the features and the menus are fairly nice, it has a history in it and everything, for me, Fusion gets A tier. Okay, next up on the list, I'm kind of excited about these. These are a little bit the weird options. We're going to start with OpenSCAD. Now, OpenSCAD of this entire experiment surprised me more than any of the others because it uses code to do your modeling. OpenSCAD does support parametric modeling. It doesn't have a history feature. So you can't really modify things in the timeline. And that was a little bit disappointing. I had to use AI to write the code to help me model this scraper. But that said, it actually only took me 10 minutes using AI to model this scraper with the bolt holes. If you explain it clearly in Claude and you tell it you're wanting to put this in OpenSCAD, it absolutely can design what you want. Now, that doesn't mean it's very easy to modify it, but it does work. It is free. I was impressed. Given that OpenSCAD is free, it does have parametric modeling, but it also requires you to learn its programming language so that you can model your parts. And previewing the parts is a little bit cumbersome. Like you don't really see what you're doing in real time to make adjustments because it is code. For those reasons, I got to say OpenSCAD gets C tier, but a very impressive C tier. Next up on this list is Blender using CAD Sketcher. Now, I've been using Blender without CAD Sketcher for modeling for a decade. I've modeled multiple video game assets and done shaders, custom shaders, geometry nodes. So Blender is an application I'm very familiar with. And so this may have made the timeline of being able to develop a functional part using CAD Sketcher a little bit skewed for me because I'm comfortable in this software already. But it only took me 30 minutes, which actually, now that I'm thinking about it, seems like a really long time for me to be able to do that. Now, I have to say one caveat with this CAD Sketcher, as easy as it makes it for you to be able to design dimensioned and constrained parts, for me, it felt a little clunky. It didn't feel like a nice user experience. And that's probably because Blender wasn't designed to do this. Now, they've done a good job of giving you a full suite of functionality with CAD Sketcher, but it just, you get that feeling that this is not what it was designed to do. And Blender actually has a relatively large learning curve because it does so much. And if you try and learn everything that it does feel overwhelming. But if you were just trying to learn CAD Sketcher and Blender, I think you could probably do that, at least get the basics in an afternoon. But a lot of CAD Sketcher relies on Blender's more advanced features. So for this reason, I have to say this gets C tier for me. But just keep in mind, Blender is free and CAD Sketcher is actually free. You can go to the guy's Gumroad and download it for free. If you do use this and you do like it, though, it's always a kindness to contribute to the developer. Next up on the list is FreeCAD. Now, FreeCAD, as the name would suggest, is free. And it took me about 45 minutes to be able to model the scraper and the holder in FreeCAD because I had to constantly keep going to the internet, looking up tutorials to get assistance. Now, FreeCAD is undeniably a very powerful tool. And again, it's free. But it looks like something straight out of the 1990s, like you should be running it on Windows 95. The UI is super dated. It's extremely unintuitive, in my opinion, extremely unintuitive, very difficult to find what you need. And there's multiple like menu sets that you have to change back and forth between what you're doing. And I mean, I was just modeling. So why am I, it was, it, I mean, it was confusing, but it is extremely functional. And if you learn it and you know it, you could model any functional part that I could think of in it. You own the design and it's free. Because of its clunky UI, though, it's going to get a C from me. Okay, so now we're to the part of the video where I am the most terrified because next up is SolidWorks for makers. Now, keep in mind, this is not the desktop version of SolidWorks. This is SolidWorks for makers, but it was a brutal experience. It took me 50 minutes to be able to model the scraper and the holder in this application. And the program lagged constantly. Like just dimensioning one line in the sketch took an unreasonable period of time. Now, let me clarify. If you're using SolidWorks, the actual desktop application, I'm sure that it's much faster. But SolidWorks for makers, in my opinion, is absolutely unusable. It's just a waste of $50. You get, again, a UI that hasn't been updated in 2 decades, crippling lag from a cloud based application, non commercial license. Why in the world would you use this horrible experience when FreeCAD is an option? Seriously, if you're thinking about SolidWorks for makers, don't do it. Just use FreeCAD. So for all of these reasons, for me, SolidWorks for makers is F tier. Next up on the list is Plasticity. Now, Plasticity is about $175 for the commercial license, and it took me about 15 to 20 minutes to get what I think might have been a usable part. And I say that because it has no parametric modeling feature. It has no history. And this caused the modeling process to be just really difficult for me. I felt like I know Plasticity kind of bills itself as CAD for artists, but Blender with CAD Sketcher gives you that. And Plasticity doesn't give you the real features that you want in a CAD application when you're designing functional parts. It kind of sat in this weird middle ground where if I'm doing something for art, I'm going to use Blender. And if I'm doing something with CAD, I'm sorry, but Plasticity would not be my application of choice. It just isn't good, in my opinion, for designing functional parts. Now, if I've made a mistake, please tell me what I should look at or what I should do differently in the comments below. But based on my experience with Plasticity, trying to design this scraper and holder, it's got to get a D tier. Okay, last on the list of applications that I tried was Nomad Sculpt. And this is mainly just because I was Googling for all kinds of 3D modeling software and wanted to try and include all of them that I could find that I felt like might work in this list. But once I realized that I wasn't going to be able to design a functional part with it, I opted to just stop. And for that reason, I'm not ranking Nomad in this tier list. But if you're into sculpting and digital art, I would absolutely check out Nomad Sculpt. This video helped me to see what's out there when it comes to 3D CAD and designing functional parts. I got to use applications that I had never used before and was really shocked at which one was my favorite. I thought I was going to come into this and absolutely love SolidWorks more than any of the others, and I hated it. I didn't realize how cool Shaper 3D is. Keep in mind that I'm not affiliated with any of these applications. So this is just my honest opinion based on about an hour of use with all of them. Anyway, until next time, keep printing.